Coming up next on Sets and Reps, we have episode 17, Support Small Business, with owner of the Shop Professional Barbering, David Valle Lara. Before we get into it, we're going to do this week's segment of circuit training, how to set SMART goals. Let's go. SMART stands for specific, measured, attainable, reasonable, and time-bound. I first learned about this when I was in exercise science school, and then I heard it again now in physical therapy assistant school. And someone a lot smarter than me came up with it, but I wanted to take a second to share with you about it right now, because I think it's a very useful tool when it comes to figuring out what you want to do, setting a goal. That's what it's made for. And it's really simple. So the first word, specific, is just that. You need to have a vision in mind. You need to visualize what you want. All right, that's the first step. I can use the gym example. I want to put on muscle. So that's your specific. With that, you know what you're going to do. The next word, measured, is something that you can keep track of. Something that you can take a measurement of to show that you've made progress. Attainable is something that you're actually allowed to reach, something that's within your grasp. Because if you set a goal that's way too high, something that's way out of your reach, you're going to be less likely to be measuring it, and you're going to be less likely to follow through with it. Reasonable is the next word. Kind of goes hand in hand with attainable. Has to be something that makes sense for you. If I'm 5'2" and I'm 160 pounds and my goal is to grow wings, that's not very reasonable, is it? So you need to pick something that's reasonable for you. This is just going to take some time sitting and thinking with yourself. Lastly, we got T, which stands for time bound, or time. And that just puts a sense of urgency on it. It can do that, or it can give you a frame of reference for how long it may actually take you to reach your goal. An example of this may be, in 2 months' time, I want to have read 5 books. That's like 2.5 every month. And if you're someone who really loves to read, you can do this pretty easily. Because now that you have a time frame and you have a goal that's measured, attainable, reasonable, and specific, you are going to download Audible. You're going to read in the morning. You're going to read at night. You're going to get excited about this. And you're going to read 5 books in 2 months. It's that simple. May not be something that you personally want to do, but at least it gives you an idea of how you can take SMART goals and put them into practice when you really want to figure out something that you want to do. Thank you for listening to Circuit Training. Now let's get into the episode. I've known my guest David for about 2 years maybe now. And he's my barber. I wanted David to come on because he's had quite the journey, and he's had a very interesting story talking with him. He comes from humble beginnings in Mexico, and he had an entrepreneur's mindset from the very beginning. Just listening to him talk for an hour, I will talk to him for about 30 or 40 minutes when I go in for a haircut. And now he owns the barbershop. Beforehand, he was partnered up with another gentleman. And so I really wanted to have him come on so we could talk about what it's like running a small business. What are some of the things that take up time and energy the most? I wanted to hear his story, how he got started cutting hair, and how he ended up in New Hampshire, of all places. Yeah, there's nothing else to say. I'm going to slide on back and let you take a listen. Welcome to the podcast, man. It's great to have you. How are you doing so far?
Pretty good, Just enjoying the beautiful weather out there.
Yeah, it's super nice. You've been my barber now for about like
Whew.
a year and a half,
Yeah,
man.
it's been a minute. It's
It's
been
been
a
a
minute.
minute. I definitely had to glow up because I was getting my haircuts at like a kids barber for the
Oh
longest
no.
time. So I had like the video games and I had the snacks there. So
Okay.
when I was like, all right, I'm 20 now. I got to go to get
Barbershop.
myself done up like a legitimate barber shop. So David runs a local business. So if you're in the New Hampshire area, head on down to the shop,
See me.
Milford, New Hampshire. He's gonna get you up right.
Oh yeah.
Um, I have to come in pretty soon because it's getting
Yeah, I was just looking. I'm like, you
yeah.
need to work it soon. I tell it to everybody, so they keep coming.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. You definitely provide premium
We
professional
try.
cuts.
We
So
tried our best. I feel like everybody deserves a good haircut out there. So
yeah, if I'm always in a downer mood, I think that
nothing better
new
than a good
clothes,
haircut.
new haircut, yeah, it always
Makes you feel
freshens me
better.
up.
Oh yeah.
Um, so how long have you been at the shop in Milford, would you say?
So I've been there probably for about this will be almost I'm gonna say 3 years and a half, almost my 4th year.
Okay. All
Three
right.
years and a half, yeah, probably. At the end of this, so this year running now, it will be 3 years and a half.
Perfect. Where were you like, when you like officially started to brand yourself as, someone who cuts hair, someone who like meant, being in the business of men's fashion, men's appearances, like where was it that you started and how did you end up in Milford?
So the way I started, so I had, I guess, a little bit intrigue on barbering when I was like probably 13 years old. And the only reason I did it was because we were saving money that our parents used to give us to go get haircuts.
Mm.
And it started as a joke, like, hey, we save this money. Like, we literally saved, I mean, it's for kids a lot. We saved so much money that we literally bought one bicycle for like seven of us. Like, I grew up in Mexico, so that was pretty cool. That was like we used to get like dinner every Saturday. Like, it was like a legit solid thing because our parents they're like, you gotta go get a haircut like every other week. So
Mm.
it was it was how it started. Just as a I don't say it's a joke, but more like, I'll try. Nobody wanted to do it, so I'm like, yeah. And I always been that type of guy. They're like, I'm doing it. Why not? I mean, I just went to high school and I started cutting my friends' hair, and everybody started liking it. Then I went to college, and I actually, when you're in college, you're broke. Like,
Mm.
maybe if your parents have a lot of money, I guess you won't. But um,
I get it.
I figure out that people need their haircuts, so I actually start watching a lot of YouTube. I mean, YouTube is probably the perfect best tool. I mean, other than school, of course. I start watching videos, and I mean, I was doing like the quarterback of the team. I was like, oh boy, like I was nerve wracking, but also, like I said, I'm throw myself out there. Like, let's go, let's do it.
That's a perfect attitude to have. Like, were you just like giving these kids like free haircuts?
So it started as free haircuts, and everybody was scared. Everybody was like, "Dude, you ain't touching my hair." So yeah, so I started charging $5, and people were still scared. They're like, $5. This for a reason. It's only $5. So then I went up to $8. Like, whoa, big difference. And people were coming, and I started getting the soccer team. My roommate was in the soccer team, so I was like, "Hey, you know what? Get your buddies to come in and get haircuts." And it started, I mean, honestly, like it went from $8, $10, $15, and then it just blew up. Like I was just cutting I was literally cutting more hair than what I was doing homework and like schooling in general. Like I was just like, oh, I got a haircut, but I got to study. Oh, I'll just do the haircut first. Like,
Mm.
and it started, it was a little bit of a side hustle for me, a little of income, I guess. And I started basically doing that. And I guess for all the entrepreneurs out there, like, I have that kind of mind, so I start seeing all these quarterbacks and football players, the phones where the screens were broken. So I'm like, oh. So I started YouTubing how to fix iPhones and any other phone. So I was ordering. Amazon wasn't as big as it was, now
Okay.
back then. So I started ordering the screens on Amazon, and I was just fixing phones and cutting hair, and I became a hustle, I guess.
Wow,
So
dude.
yeah, it
That's
was interesting.
that's super cool. So how did you end up like, coming to this part of the area?
So my uncle lived in Milford. The high school
Oh,
was in
okay.
Merrimack, but he lived in Milford. So I
Gotcha.
was around the area. I knew the area. I actually, matter of fact, way before I was a barber, I walked through the barber shop. I was like, oh, that's a cool place. It would be sick to have a barber shop. And I mean, who would have thought that I was going to own it later on in life? Like, that's like one cool thing I always think about. So when I saw that barber shop, the way it was before, I thought it was I thought they sell furniture. Like there was so many couches and so much going on. I was like, wow, this is like a furniture place, Then I saw the barbers in there, and I was like, oh, this is a barber shop. So I was in Milford already, and then I moved with my now wife with her family when I graduated high school. We actually moved into Pepperell, so I was off the area for the longest time. Like I was in Pepperell, worked for her. Her family has a business, so we worked for them. Then that's when we went to college, and then came back. We only did a year in college.
Mm.
So when I came back, I was actually working for my in-laws and cutting hair after. So I was literally, my days were miserable. It was 7:30, 7:45 till 6 o'clock working at her parents' place. And then from like 7:30, whatever time I got down there till like 11:30. Yeah, Nashua opens really late. Like you need a haircut at midnight, dude, go to Nashua.
Come through. So were you there overnight at all from time to
uh
time?
I mean, we used to do like till like midnight. I think is the longest I ever went, and I was like, dude, this is crazy. Like people actually want haircuts at midnight. Like that's a little bit too much. So I was like, you know what? I had to decide now. What do I want to do? I came to a point after a year or so. I was like, all right, you know what? I need to either fully go on barbering or help my in-laws with their business and work at the business. Going back to how I ended up in Milford,
Yeah.
actually. Basically, long story short, the guy who owned it came to see me and he was like, hey, I heard you do group haircuts. I was like, yeah, I mean, I guess so. I can get you in. And one thing you never want to do is go into another barbershop and ask the barbers if they want to work for you. That's like the one thing you don't do, but he did it.
Really?
And I'm
What?
glad he did it
It obviously
because
turned out good for you, but why do you say?
it was great. I mean, like the place I was working at, it was great. It was just the competition down there for a new
Mm,
barber. You ever heard the saying like, you just throw me into the lions? Like that's literally like, I mean, there was some really talented like places down there and barbers themselves. Like they could really do some crazy haircuts.
mm,
So I learned a lot of crazy things down there. Like it was great. I I'm happy I did that because I wouldn't be I wouldn't do the haircuts I do if I didn't learn from them.
sure.
So he came and he was like, hey, like I lived in Townsend at this point now, which is right next to Pepperell. And me and my wife have been at our house for about 4 years now. So I basically, when I moved into my house, that's when I basically started working in Milford. It was better for me distance wise. And I just, everything just came down to like, this is better for me. It's closer to home. It was nice. It was just, I think it was more, I feel more comfortable in there. It's only a couple of barbers, not much competition. I started building my clientele real quick.
Yeah.
And it just went from there. Just kind of just keep I don't even know how to explain it. Like if you were to tell me like how do you did it, I would be like, I honestly just did my work and did the best I could. And everything just fall right on top of shit. Like it's crazy how it works, but it's if you do things with the best you can, then I guess that's what you get. The guy who owned it ended up actually wanting to move to Florida, so it was a great opportunity for me to buy the place, and I always wanted to buy the place anyways, or either make my own. It's cool having your own barbershop, I guess. And it was great.
Absolutely.
Like I was very excited. I got everything set up. I bought him out on January 2020, like the best time to buy a business. But you know what? We're still here.
Absolutely. Did you have to shut down at all?
I did.
You did.
I
For how
did.
long?
I basically lost 3 months of full work.
Okay.
I it was great because I had time to remodel, but I am not gonna lie, like I basically, you throw all this money into a place, you made it look nice and pretty, and you don't even know when you're gonna be able to open and make money. So it was a struggle, I mean, it was definitely in my head all the time, like, oh man, am I gonna make it? And I'm going, I was only 23 years old. I'm only 24, so it was a year, basically a year ago. I was 22 actually because I turned 23 in October. So it was the beginning of the year, like a 22-year-old, you just dumped all this money, basically all your savings, and you're like, is it gonna work? Is it gonna happen? Is it gonna be, did I just dump all my money out? Like it was a scary time, but
A lot of uncertainty there. Yeah.
yeah, of course. It was just we didn't know what was gonna happen, but we made it through. And
Yeah, I think you came out on top, to say the least. I mean,
I gotta, dude, I gotta say, all my clients, like, clients like you and everybody was so supportive. I came from, grew up in Mexico. I'm grateful to anybody and everybody. Like, you could give me literally $10, but I'd rather give you a free haircut than have, it's suited to me to have people feel joy about something I did. Honestly, I would
dang.
not be able to do it without all my clients. Like, I just wouldn't be able to do it. Like, my clients knew me, and I'm transparent. I tell people, like, hey, it sucks. I make no money today, or be like, hey, I've been doing really good today. And people see that, and they take, everybody takes their own, I guess, they will take their own idea, like, oh, am I gonna take this much money towards him, or am I gonna tip him this much, like, so it was, I mean, I gotta say, I'm really thankful for all my clients. Like, I believe in karma, you do good things,
Mm.
good things back. So I mean, honestly, like, this whole COVID thing showed me a lot of good things about people. There's a lot of good people out there.
I agree with you 100%, man. So you're talking about like having a strong client base. That sounds like definitely one of the benefits or one of the pros of doing what you do. Can you speak on anything else you can think of when it comes to pros and cons of being a barber?
So there is a lot of pros and cons, and I I think that there is a lot of, so we say jokingly in between barbers, like, we're psychologists. We are no legally, I'm not a legal financial advisor, by the way. But we just talk to so many people, and they do so many different things that you learn a little bit about everything in a way. So the cons are, you learn a lot about people, you learn a lot of things. Like, I was never before, if I look at myself, I could have never go and talk to a 50-plus-year-old man, and give him advice. Like, who would do that at 22 years old, like,
Mm.
it was hard. So cons about being a barber definitely have to do with learning about people, and you kind of get more deep into the world, like, and that's another, I mean, pros are, you get to know people, but the
Yeah.
cons of it is, like, you get the good and the bad. You know what I mean? Like,
So you know a little too much.
not a little too much, but, like, I'm the type of person, and I always feel like I had that since I was a little kid. Like, if you're feeling down, it makes me feel down, but I try to bring you up, and it's hard, sometimes. So I
Yeah.
always, like, I always thought that was one of the, like, the most negative things about being a barber. It's just, you always feel what the guy is feeling on your chair in a way, and it might be not every barber, but in my opinion, that's, like, I always try to fix things, I guess. So
I think that's true. If you have a lot of empathy, you want to see things from the other person's perspective, like as a coach and as like a clinician in my future. That's an important part of my job. So do you feel like you sometimes are, you're a very outgoing guy, you try to see where they're at and talk to them on a personal level, but do you feel like you're like unprepared sometimes to?
oh, of course, yeah. I mean, I had people before, they asked me, like, straight out questions like, "Hey, I hate my wife. I'm gonna sell the house. She doesn't know, but should I do it?" I'm like, I
Bro,
literally
I'm
get,
just giving you a mid skin fade here. Like,
yeah, I'm like, dude, you just keep for a haircut, man. Like, I don't know what are you trying, like, I just don't understand what you're trying to talk to me about this. Like, I am not gonna give you advice about that, like things like that. Like, I get some crazy questions,
yeah,
believe it.
so you definitely have to draw the line there.
Oh, of course. Like, if I couldn't draw a line, then trust me, I'll be in a lot of trouble, I guess. But yeah, there's a lot of cons and a lot of pros though. It's you get to know a lot of people.
What are some things that you find take extra time and energy from you when it comes to maintaining this business, but also, other than the relationships that you're building with people? I'm sure that that can, you know, depending on how invested you are, it can
Mhm.
take a toll on you emotionally. But when it comes to like managing the business pretty much, and also balancing home and work life, um, what are some things that, you know, about the business that take the most of your energy?
So, I mean, I always want, of course, like any other, if you ask any other business, small business owner, we always want the best of the best to come out of the door. So I think what takes the most energy out of me is making sure, like, I'm always worried that every client that walks out of there is happy. And it's a stupid, like, just because I guess I'm so picky, like, I get, like, if somebody walks out and for some reason I think they weren't too happy, but that's just because that's how they are. But I think it's like, oh man, it was the haircut. Like, that I did something wrong. That, like, what happened? And I look too far into it, to be honest. Like,
Mm.
some people that just don't show any emotion, and I'm like, oh man, was it me? Like the haircut, and I'll go home and I still think about like, oh, was it haircut or of literally, like, it's, I think is the most energy taken is when you're trying to get the best out of once people walk out of the door. It's like, are they fully happy? And
Mm.
I mean, oh, there, of course. I mean, it's always bills. There's always, you have to do your taxes, insurance, all that stuff for small business owners. It's a lot because we do everything. We don't have a secretary that's gonna do all this work for us. It's like, oh, you gotta make sure you get all your taxes. You gotta make sure you get all, utilities paid. You gotta make sure you get all these, like, you have to keep up with everything. And we go through so much, like, utilities, I guess, like, paper towels, like hot towels, all these, like, barbicide cleaning, especially right now with COVID, with all these cleaning supplies, like, that takes, you're always trying to keep up. Like, you just put all these and then you have these things coming up, it's always a back and forth, back and forth. But I think the most thing that takes the most energy out of me is definitely just, I like to have everybody happy, make sure everybody gets what they deserve. So it's, I think, I mean, that's just my perspective from the small business.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for others that are starting a small business and they want to, if anyone that wants to kind of stay on top of things,
Right.
um, do you have any advice for them? Just like one word
So
of advice.
yeah, I think the biggest advice that I never took, I mean, multiple people always told me, and I never took it. You can't have everything too fast. Like,
Yes.
I mean, I wanted to have a barbershop that was fully ongoing. I had this image on my head, like, oh, this is gonna look crazy, look good. All these barbers in there and everything is like, no, it does not work like that. And even I feel like for other business, like, I don't care. You can sell shirts, whatever you want to sell. You always have this image of this crazy great business, like people coming in buying shirts and going registering, everything flowing nice. It could happen like that. I'm not saying it won't. Like, it's definitely how much work you put into it is what you get. But what I'm saying is, it takes a minute. It's you building up kind of like an image of the place in a way. So I always give people advice, like if you're gonna start a business, like definitely go for it. Like don't think about it twice. Don't if you have everything that takes to do it, go ahead and do it. And just never, I mean, there's always good and bad days, and there's always good and bad seasons, and everything is out there. But if you just keep sticking with the same thing and you just keep your head in front of you, you know.
Mm.
And I find that one of the biggest, I mean, it just slowly building, like you're slowly building. And it's a system they never, it's like, you know, you probably know, like working out, you probably get a lot of clients that are like, dude, I want to be ripped. How long is it going to take? You know, you're like, whoa, like, you know, there's a
Easy
lot
killer.
involved on there, buddy, you know.
Definitely, I can. Yeah, the comparison is there. I like that. It's just
Yeah,
it takes time. Got to be
it's
patient,
time,
right?
man. It's like you build, you know, you're doing a body build or you're doing a business build. Like it all takes energy, time, and effort. Like, and you have to be there. You can't, like, I could tell you if I was weak, I could have quit 100 times already because COVID. But
Yeah,
I always like stick with it, stick with it, stick with it. And I mean, I'm in a comfortable spot. I can take, you know, I can take days off. I can do what I like to do and things like that. And it's just I at the beginning I wanted to do that so much, like at first, but now that I'm enjoying it, it pays off. Like the whole entire after we opened back up, the whole entire like 6 months, I was nonstop just because I was, you know, like I gotta work, I gotta work, I gotta work, I gotta build it. And it's just it takes time, you know. It's I definitely advise people out there, like if you have something in your heart that you want to do, go ahead and do it. Like what's stopping you from, you know? And yeah, it's hard, it's difficult, yeah, blah blah blah. Everybody's gonna tell you, oh, don't do it, you're not gonna succeed. The biggest thing I learned is not to tell anybody what you're gonna do, and it will
mm.
flow the smoothest thing ever. Like people will always tell you not to do it. No, you suck at it. It's always something, you know. But
Yeah. Everyone's gonna doubt you, but everyone else is gonna doubt you, but never doubt yourself, type of thing.
right, I mean, I was gonna be the one guy telling you that. So you know what? You take those comments and be like, I'm gonna prove them wrong, you know.
Facts.
And you just keep going straight. That's it. You just keep going straight. Don't look back. And if it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. Just don't look back. Just keep going straight.
Do you have any goals or plans for your business to progress or quote unquote go to the next level in the near future?
For the barber shop, I did have some ideas. Like I definitely want to get more barbers in there. I want to get I'm still gonna be present because I notice another advice for small businesses, you gotta be there. You have to be
Yeah.
there. Like there's no such a thing as you let it go and it'll be good. No, you have to be there. So I do have some ideas, you know, something so nothing crazy with the real estate, just be more like part-time deal. But on the barber shop, I definitely, I mean, it's hard to find help right now. It's there's a lot of work to be done in there, and there's just no help out there. So I do have some. I wanted to start expanding, like make like the Shop Professional Barbering #2. I don't know, like it's been an idea. It just when COVID hit, it was a little bit hard, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've been thinking about like doing like a mobile service type of thing, like because
Ooh.
I came to a conclusion that who's getting like you take so many overhead out of it, you know, you own the truck or whatever it is. And you know, I have some ideas, you know. I mean, I kind of want to keep them on the low because they're pretty good ideas. So I don't want nobody like, you know.
And you just said like don't tell people too much about what you're
Exactly.
doing.
I
So
mean,
I appreciate the little bits of information.
yeah, you
So
know, you just got to do a little nips, you know. But yeah, it's
just like Lil Wayne said, move in silence like lasagna.
yeah, I guess so.
God,
Yeah, you so
facts,
just
dude.
like that. But yeah, no, I mean, I had some. I definitely am. I'm definitely. I have a lot of ambitions, and I have a lot of things I want to accomplish. And it's not. I guess it's really not all about the money. It really isn't. It's more about the what you can accomplish in life. And you know, I love it. I love. You know, like I would have never been on this podcast, and if it accomplished anything, I guess, you know. So
That's right, dude. You got a happy paying customer right here, and I'm gonna keep coming back
awesome.
until I move, right? I mean, if
We
I could
should
take
meet
you
it.
with me when you get that mobile service, that would be lit.
Hey, you know
But
what? Once you get big and everything, you want to fly me out to whatever you are, California. I don't care. I'll fly out.
all right, dude, sounds good.
Hey,
Um, just to wrap things up here, man, we've been having a great conversation so far, but I wanted to hear from you your top two tips from the barber for all the dudes out there who want to look good, feel good. What are your top two tips for like men's style and for beard trimming, specifically beard trimming?
so everybody likes to do their own beard trims, and that's not a doubt. I mean, even myself, like I'll have a haircut done by my barber, and I'll do my beard myself. Sometimes, not always, but we all like to, I don't care who you are. Everybody gets out of the shower, you have like the look in the mirror, and you're like, oh man, I'm gonna trim this, I'm gonna clean this up. Everybody likes to look good. So I mean, I think my tip number one, you're gonna laugh, but don't buy cheap stuff. Like don't buy cheap clippers. Everybody, if I can get a penny every time somebody asks me, like, oh, I don't know why my clipper's not working. I mean, I always tell people just don't cheap out and get some good stuff
Get
because
what you pay for. Yeah.
exactly you're gonna get a good result. And I mean, I gotta say, if you're really bad with clippers, just leave it to the professionals.
That's why I come to you.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we have clients, like I had clients before, they're like, yeah, I don't have a light on my bathroom, so I shave. And then I'm like, oh, you're missing like all the way up here. Like, what's going on? But I mean, I think there is a profession for a reason. Like we get licensed to do this because not everybody gets to do it. Not everybody knows how to do it. So my biggest number two tip will be go to see a professional if you want to look good and feel good. And hey, if you like trimming your beard, you like the way it gets, or you do your own haircuts, all heads to you. That's awesome. But personally, I'm a barber and I hate cutting my own hair or doing my beard I like, but haircuts I've done it multiple times and I'm so picky and I just no. I like to go see somebody.
That's another. Yeah, that's a thing I'll never like. I don't even know if I want to try that just because it's just so different when it's. I don't even know how people like can see that. Like you do it in front of a mirror that's behind you, and
Oh
like
yeah, you gotta get the three. Like
God, I would just end up shaving my head every time.
right? Like everybody asks, like who cuts a barber's hair? We do cut our own hair sometimes, but I could do it. It will just. I am so picky, and you know me. I gotta. If I don't, something doesn't look right, I'll put you back in the chair and do it again. So, it's it takes me a long time to finish a haircut because I last time I did it. Let's put it this way: last time I did my own haircut, it took me about 4 hours. That's how like it just didn't look right, and everybody's like, it looks fine. It looks fine. And it was just like, no. Oh,
Damn, bro, the
he's
dog.
gonna he's crazy.
He's coming on the pod.
Yeah, literally. He's trying to throw his two tips too.
He's just got one tip.
Yeah, that's all he has
um.
to
All right, bro. So thank you once again for coming on. I had a great time with you here. Uh, give your place a plug and let people know where they can find you. All right.
So we are located right in the Oval, right in Milford, New Hampshire, at the Oval, called the Shop Professional Barbering. We're right next to Verizon. Like literally, you can't miss us. And come see me, and I'd love to put an impression on you. Come definitely see us, guys. And just if you know what I'm actually gonna do a $5 off if you mention that you saw on the podcast. So
No way. All right.
let's do it. Let's go for it. So
Word.
you say
That's
you
sick,
saw me on
man.
the podcast, and I'll give you a $5 discount. How that sounds?
That's what's up, everybody.
Oh yeah,
Can't deny that.
appreciate you for having me on the podcast. I really do. It's feels good to know that you're doing something good. I guess.
Thanks, David. Right on. I appreciate you, man. We'll be seeing you in soon. Like I said, you gotta trim this, whatever this is going
Oh,
on
yeah.
up here, and
I need a haircut
this
myself too.
caterpillar up here. So
Oh yeah,
yeah,
we'll
bro.
trim you up.
Thank you very much. You have a great night, my friend.
Hey, you too, man. Good
Perfect.
seeing you.